It was the first day, but there was no land, no sky, no gods, only darkness and water. From this silent sea, a single mound rose, and with it came creation. Thousands of years later, the Egyptians would shape this myth into something enormous, permanent, divine. It wasn't just a pyramid, it was creation itself, cast in stone. To the casual eye, they are architectural marvels, the enduring legacy of a civilization obsessed with the afterlife. But to the ancient Egyptian mind, these structures were far more than that. They were cosmic symbols, reflections of celestial events, and monuments to divine principles. And perhaps, most profoundly, they were representations of the very beginning, the first day of creation. Today we step back, not just into the dynastic timelines and reigns of pharaohs, but into the mythic realm, where the boundary between myth and theology, architecture and cosmology is blurred. We ask one of the most profound questions. Was the pyramid a symbol of the first day of creation? To answer this, we must journey into the depths of Egyptian creation myths, into the architecture of sacred space, and into the mindset of a civilization that saw the entire world as a living temple. This is a tale of shape and shadow, of gods and geometry, of primeval waters and the first rising light. In the beginning, there was no earth, no sky, no gods, no men. There was only none, the infinite, dark, and inert primeval water. This was the state of the universe before creation, an endless flood of potential but no form. It was within this concept of formless chaos that the ancient Egyptian imagination planted the seed of all things. Out of none rose the Benben, a mysterious mound of earth that emerged for the first time. This mound, small and sacred, was the first place to receive the light of the sun. It was upon this elevated point that the creator god, depending on the theological tradition, Atum of Heliopolis, Ptah of Memphis, or Amun of Thebes, stood and began the act of creation. In Heliopolitan theology, it was Atum, the self-created god who rose on the Benben and brought forth the first gods, Shu, the air, and Tefnut, the moisture, through an act of generative power. These deities would go on to birth Geb, earth, and Nut, sky, setting the stage for the world as the Egyptians knew it. This idea was more than myth. It was ritualized at the Temple of Ra at Heliopolis. There, the sacred Benben stone stood as the physical symbol of the first rising and became a central axis for Egyptian theology for millennia. The Benben stone, therefore, was not merely a mythic hill. It was the axis of all that followed, the moment that time, matter, and divinity entered the cosmos. It was the first dry land, the place where light kissed the earth for the first time. In this context, the shape of the mound, conical or pyramidical, was sacred. It was, in essence, the first pyramid. And the Egyptians never forgot this. Millennia after the first myths were composed, the ancient Egyptians began to shape the desert into a landscape of sacred geometry. Somewhere around 2630 BCE, during the reign of Djoser, a revolutionary structure was built at Saqqara, the first step pyramid, designed by the polymath Imhotep. With its tiered rises, it was an ambitious architectural metaphor, a stairway from earth to the heavens. But as pyramid building evolved, from the stepped form to the smooth-sided true pyramids of Sneferu and his descendants, the symbolic meaning deepened. The pyramid, with its broad base and pointed apex, mirrored the rays of the sun. To the Egyptians, this was no coincidence. The word for pyramid in ancient Egyptian was mer, and it's believed to have carried meanings tied to ascension and place. But deeper still is the connection between the pyramid's shape and the sacred Benben stone. In fact, at the pinnacle of each pyramid sat a capstone, often covered in gold leaf, that was itself called the Benbene. This was a miniature version of the original Benben, a divine beacon meant to reflect the first light of the sun, just as the original mound had done at the dawn of time. In this way, every pyramid was a symbolic reenactment of the first day of creation. It was not just a tomb, it was a sacred landscape, constructed to mirror the emergence of order from chaos, light from darkness, earth from ocean. The pyramid was the first moment of becoming, frozen in stone. It wasn't just shaped like creation, it was creation. To further understand the pyramid's role in symbolizing the first day of creation, we must turn to one of Egypt's most ancient sacred texts, the pyramid texts. Inscribed on the inner walls of pyramids from the 5th and 6th dynasties, these incantations, hymns, and spells were intended to guide the deceased pharaoh through the afterlife. But they also contain some of the most profound theological reflections in human history. In these texts, the deceased king is repeatedly associated with the creator god Atum, as well as with the sun god Ra. The king is not merely dead, he has become divine. He is reborn with the sun each day, emerging as light from darkness, just as creation did at the beginning of time. Consider this line from the pyramid texts of Unas. You have become high, you have become mighty, you have become a pyramid. Your base is in the earth, your apex is in the sky. This is not mere poetry. It is cosmology cast in stone. The pharaoh doesn't just inhabit the pyramid, he is the pyramid. He becomes the axis mundi, the point where heaven and earth connect. He is the Benben. He is the first light. In another passage, the pyramid is described as being on the primeval mound. Even in its physical location, built high on the desert plateau above the fertile Nile Valley, the pyramid echoes the solitude and sacred elevation of the mythic Benben rising from Nun. Thus, the pyramid becomes a reification of the first day, a resurrection of creation, a monument to that sacred moment when form emerged from formlessness. In Egypt, the word became stone, and the king became the sky. No discussion of the pyramid's symbolic meaning would be complete without exploring the solar religion that flourished during the Old Kingdom. By the 4th dynasty, the pharaohs had closely linked themselves with Ra, the sun god. Ra's journey across the sky symbolized not only the cycle of day and night, but the eternal struggle between order and chaos. Every morning, Ra was reborn, rising from the underworld with the first rays of light, defeating the serpent Apophis and re-establishing Ma'at, the divine order. The pyramid, oriented with precise astronomical alignment, was a testament to this solar faith. Its sides faced the cardinal points. Its shape reflected the sun's rays, and the king, buried deep within, was meant to ride the solar bark with Ra, ascending to the heavens to live eternally among the stars. The pyramid texts again reinforce this identity. O king, you are this great star, the companion of Orion who traverses the sky with Ra. This celestial association is not coincidental. In fact, the entire mortuary complex surrounding the pyramid, the Valley Temple, the Causeway, the Mortuary Temple, and the pyramid itself, was a ritual landscape designed to mirror and participate in the cosmic cycle of death and rebirth. In this structuring, the pyramid stands as the sun's first light on the first day, the frozen sunbeam that birthed the world. It is often said that architecture is frozen music. In Egypt, it was frozen theology. The pyramid was not just a tomb, it was a machine of resurrection, a monument of myth, a cosmic diagram. Its very dimensions encoded sacred numbers, and its orientation reflected the harmony of the heavens. Consider the Great Pyramid of Khufu at Giza, constructed around 2580 BCE. Its base spans over 230 meters on each side. It originally rose to a height of 146.6 meters, a perfect pyramid with sides sloping at approximately 51 degrees. These dimensions were not arbitrary. Scholars have speculated that they encode solar and stellar symbolism. Some have even suggested that the proportions reflect the golden ratio, or that the layout of the Giza pyramids mirrors the alignment of Orion's belt, associating the pharaoh with the sky gods. But beyond the numbers, the symbolism is clear. The Great Pyramid faced the rising sun. Its white limestone casing stones, now largely lost, would have glowed like a beacon in the sunlight. At its apex, the capstone, perhaps gilded, would have reflected the morning light, just as the Benben had done in the mythic past. The entire structure was a hymn to the first day, a resurrection of the moment when light first broke over the waters of Nun. For the Egyptians, death was not an end, but a transformation. The tomb was not a grave, but a womb, a place of becoming, and the pyramid, as the ultimate tomb, was the ultimate site of rebirth. The journey of the dead pharaoh mirrored the journey of the sun. He died, descended into the underworld, confronted chaos, and was reborn with the dawn. The pyramid was both his resting place and his launch pad. It was the mountain of light upon which he would ascend into the heavens and take his place among the imperishable stars. This idea is echoed in the coffin texts and later the Book of the Dead, which continue the theme of the Benben, the Mound, and the pyramid as metaphors for resurrection and divine ascent. Even the hieroglyph for to ascend, Akhet, is represented as the sun rising between two mountains, an image that echoes the pyramid's silhouette against the horizon. It is no coincidence that the Giza Plateau faces the east, the direction of the rising sun. Each morning, the pyramids catch the first rays of sunlight, as if reliving that first eternal sunrise over the primeval waters. So, was the pyramid a symbol of the first day of creation? Absolutely. Every stone, every angle, every ritual performed within its shadow was an invocation of that sacred moment when the world began. The pyramid was not merely a structure, it was a cosmic engine, a recreation of the Benben, a mirror of the solar cycle, a testament to divine order. To the ancient Egyptians, time was cyclical, and the present was always in dialogue with the mythic past. By building pyramids, they were not merely honoring their dead, they were recreating creation itself. They were ensuring that the world remained in balance, that light continued to rise over darkness, and that the pharaoh, like the sun, would be reborn each day. In the heart of the desert, beneath the endless sky, the pyramids still stand, mute witnesses to a civilization that encoded the cosmos in stone. They are not just tombs, they are temples of time, monuments to myth, and eternal echoes of that first golden dawn. And in them, we are reminded, again and again, that the past is not dead. It is still rising, like the sun, over the sands of Egypt. In the next episode, we'll explore just how the journey of the dead pharaoh mirrored the sun's daily resurrection, from the pit of darkness to the throne of the gods. Subscribe to join that story.